What's up YouTube? This is Self-Reliance. Today I wanted to switch gears a little bit and go back to making a prepper video. And so I was thinking about what I wanted to shoot this video on and going through some scenarios in my mind. And I kind of always go back to that situation that I personally think is very likely to happen, and that is kind of short to medium term losses of grid power and how I would handle that. So today I wanted to go through a scenario where lights are out, no power, and why am I staring at the refrigerator here? Well, because this is probably the immediate after lights and being able to see around the house and so forth. This is probably the first thing that you need to keep in mind, is that you've got a freezer full of stuff that is going to spoil within the next 2 or 3 days. And what could you do immediately to help with this situation? So one of the things that I believe is valuable for a prepper or someone who is self-reliant is to be able to cook and to be able to prepare meals from a variety of different ingredients and in a variety of different ways. You never know what kind of tools you're going to have access to, what kind of cooking utensils and implements, what sort of heat source you're going to be working with. So today I wanted to do a video on smoking, not cigarette smoking, but smoking meat. That would be a great way to preserve some of this meat that's in my fridge or in my freezer. If I thought that the grid was going to be down for several days and I didn't have enough solar power to run this thing, then I would immediately smoke some of this meat, which will preserve it for quite a while. So I want this to be kind of a beginner level video with just kind of the basics of smoking and kind of introduce you to that as a prepper topic. So I'm going to grab the easiest and most forgiving meat to smoke, in my opinion, and that is chicken. It's easy to cook, it doesn't take very long to do, and it's very forgiving. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab these chicken breasts, and the first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to brine them. And that will give us time to prepare the smoker, and it will also make the meat a lot more juicy and retain that moisture and that juice. Okay, so I've got a bowl of water here. Now, as I said, I'm not going to be worried too much about how much salt I'm putting in this. If the grid is down, you've got a whole lot worse things to worry about than proper recipe for this. So before this gets flooded with recipes for brining or proper steps or whatever, keep in mind the context of the video here. So just put in a good amount of salt. Salt is cheap, so hopefully you've got a bunch of salt stored away. That may not even be enough, but put in a good amount of salt. And then I'm not gonna, if this were really a grid down scenario, I would smoke this whole bag because it's going to go to waste. But for this demonstration, I'm just going to pull out 4 or 5 breasts and start brining it in the water, and then we'll kick over to the grill and show you what we're doing with the smoker. Okay, we've got the chicken brining, and so now we're out here at the smoker, and I'm not going to cover everything about smoking, but just cover the basics. You've got a firebox here, which is where we're going to put the fire. And for fuel, we're going to use lump charcoal, or you can use just charcoal briquettes. And we're going for the wood that we're going to smoke the meat with. We're going to use, I've got some hickory chips here. We're going to start it with some lighter fluid and matches. So anyway, this is where the fire goes. There is an intake vent on the one side, and then there is a smokestack where the smoke comes out. And so the intake, you regulate how hot the fire gets by opening or closing that, and also the same with the exhaust, by opening up this more, allowing more oxygen in this side, and oxygen or air leaving this side, the exhaust and smoke, then you create more airflow through and a hot or fire. So you can regulate the temperature. This one has a thermometer on the front that you can see kind of a rough estimate of the temperature inside. And inside we have various racks for putting the meat on. And then in the firebox, it just looks like a normal grill that everybody's familiar with. You've got space underneath the grill part where the charcoal goes, and then on top you can put meat if you want, but I don't really ever do that in this. I just make the fire in here, put the wood chips on top, close the firebox, and then put the meat in here for slow cooking at lower temperatures with the smoke kind of permeating this chamber. You also want to put some water here at the bottom to kind of keep things from drying out too much. It creates some steam and helps to keep things moist. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put charcoal in the bottom and get those lit, and it takes 20 to 30 minutes for that to kind of catch and get up to the proper temperature before you can really do much. So I'm going to go ahead and get that started before anything else. Okay, while that's heating up, we're going to go ahead and take the chicken out of the brine, put it on some paper towels or towel or something to dry it off. And then while that's drying, we're going to take a collection of spices here. We've got some oregano, some paprika, some cayenne pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, salt and pepper. And we're going to kind of mix it together a little bit into a rub. And then we're going to gently rub it around the chicken before we put it on the rack in the smoker. Okay, now we're back outside with our rubbed chicken here, and we're not quite up to the right temperature, but we will go ahead and open the holes wide open so we get the maximum temperature. And we're going to go ahead and throw these on the racks. I'm going to use the bottom two racks because they'll get hotter than the top ones. And again, we want to put some water in that bottom tray, but first I'm going to fill that up with water because it'll be harder to fill, but then I'm going to put the chicken on those two racks. Alright, there we go. So let's close this thing up and try to get it up to full temperature, and then these are going to cook for about 2 hours or so, and then we're going to check the temperature. So the firebox should be pretty hot, and these wood chips should burn and produce smoke like you see here. And we're up to a pretty good temperature. That's about where we want to be, is 250. And the meat should be sizzling and looking pretty good. So we'll give this another half hour to 45 minutes, and then we'll check the temperature of the inside of the meat and make sure that it's done. Okay, so you want to check with the meat thermometer that the temperature of the chicken has reached 160 degrees, and that's when you know it's done. And then we'll go ahead and pull this off and let it rest for a bit, and then we'll serve it. So once meat has been smoked, the purpose of this video basically is that this will keep a lot longer without spoiling. You could put this in a sealed container, put it in a dry, cool area, maybe in your basement or something, and this would last for quite a while, much longer than if you just left it thawed out and kind of rotting in your freezer with no power. So just a tip, you could use, if you didn't have charcoal or whatever, you could use just basic firewood to accomplish the same thing. It may not have the same smoky flavor as the hickory or whatever, but at this point you're just interested in survival and maintaining your resources. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. You may actually discover something that you like the taste of. But anyway, hopefully some of you guys learned something from this, and thanks for watching.